compute.
Hi, so this is a video to explain a little bit about a prototype I've been working on, which is to have dynamic DAG graph being generated when the user edits their YAML file. And so for now, this is just living in the CI lint page, and this is just to demo that this can be done. This is the editor Lite, which what we have now when we're editing files, and this is the YAML file. This is just a setup that I've made to have a graph showing, and you can see this is displaying just fine. And so what I did is I've worked on tying in editing the YAML to directly generating the DAG graph of our dependency only. So if you see here, we have a couple of jobs, pretty standard. We have 4 build job, and then we have 3 test job, and they're dependent on each other here. So if I go in the test A job and I go, well, you know what? It shouldn't depend on build C, and then I remove it, you can see at the bottom that it's updating what's being shown. And I can go, okay, well, I wanna have build C. And you can see here, this is where right now, if the build is invalid because I haven't added the C letter, there's a parsing error. There could be a multiple solution for this. We could keep the graph showing and just have a message that says, currently your configuration is invalid. There might be an empty state. This is to be determined. Or we could have like a higher debound so that it's not just as you're typing. Right now it's a quarter of a second. So if I just add C, then we see the graph. And then you can see that we're back to how we were. And you can literally add a new job, and let's say I'm gonna have like a new state like deploy, and it's gonna be deploy A, and put it in any stage, doesn't really matter. And then if it needs any job from, let's say, like test A, just need a little space here, then we can see that the graph updates, and then I have my deploy A here, and you can still use the graph as you would usually do. So you can highlight it, you have every functionality. And that this is pretty powerful. Right now, we're not showing any job that doesn't have any requirements. So if I had like deploy B, right, and I don't make a lot of typo while typing it, which would be more useful, right? If it doesn't need any job, or it's not needed by any job, then it doesn't show, which is the current limitation. But this is exactly what we have right now. So this is the same graph, same editor, just tying them up together. And then you can see how dynamic it can become, and you can just keep adding whatever you need to add. Here we go. Do you have any questions, Sam?
This is amazing, first off. So, I mean, I think you touched on it just there. This is using the existing components, isn't it? So any updates we make to the DAG graph generally will kind of come through to this. Yeah, it's not like a separate version of it.
Yeah, definitely. It's using exactly the same component. The only thing that has been changed, and that can be changed in the same component, is we now don't just render on mounting the component. So when the page load, usually it's like, here, we render the graph. Now there's also a property that's like, if you update the data, we re-render. So there are some performance implication there that we'll have to look into. Like whenever we regenerate the DAG, we can't just say, here's the new data, and then just update the path. We have to recalculate the whole SVG and then render that, right? So there might be, like on big graph, we have to see how that has, if that has an impact, but it's exactly the same code. Nothing would need to be changed. Like right now, how it's working is the YAML gives us a data structure that's different from what the graph expects. So we convert it, and then we feed that to the graph. So the graph is the same, and there's this middle piece that take care of making sure that everything is fine.
That's really cool. So it's basically there's 2 pre-existing things, and this proof of concept just creates like a translator between the 2 sort of things, so we can see it all in real time.
Yeah, it's just basically it's a view component that has both of them inside, and just make sure they can communicate to each other, and that updating one update the other. Like this one can't be updated, right? So it's a one-way update. But if I update the file, then it goes up, and then it goes back down into the graph, and then it updates and re-render the data. So, and you can see like, I mean, at least so far, it's not a big graph, but it updates pretty quickly. So it's not like it takes time, like some time to deploy, or, you know, if I just add another need, I need another test A, then it just re-render instantly.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying there might be performance issues. At this point, this is still a proof of concept, right? So they're things that we can dig into when this gets made, properly. But I
Yeah.
mean, this looks brilliant. Is this something that once we have this kind of thing in, we can start doing similar things with, like the child pipelines and things like that, like all the other parts of the application that could benefit from a similar approach?
Yeah, I think so. I think that this is also just a proof of concept of live editing, which is something that was started by Dennis in the front end team, where he would show you have your editor light, and then you can see on the right what's being generated. And so that kind of inspired us to just go and try it with the graph, and it works just fine. So it could work with anything really. We could have like, you could have this being the graph that we're using in the pipeline page. It's just that there would be more tweaks. Like the DAG is really good because it's really self-contained. And so this graph is just like, give me data and I'm going to render everything, while other part of the application are more tied into our logic. So there might be some exploration to do, but the concept is the same. We could just tie in the editor with any kind of graph or visual representation that we want, which is cool. It also means we could have live tooltipping in the YAML editing. So if you're editing your YAML and then you make a mistake, we could, here, instead of a graph, you could render like an error. You could make a fetch call to the API on the background, or you could have a button which is like, just validate this, or it could be as you're typing, it could be, no, this is a mistake, because we could be parsing the YAML as we go.
I mean, yeah, I only have one question left, and that's how do I start playing with this? What do I do? I assume I have to run this locally at this point. There's no published version of this.
Yeah, it's not behind the feature flag. It's not even out yet. Like it's really just a proof of concept. So I have a branch which is called, let me show it here. Where is it? Zoom is getting in the way. So the branch is dag-preview.experiment. Sorry, dag-preview-experiment. And basically for now, like I said at the beginning, this is on the CI lint page. So if you go on that branch, you start your GDK. If you go on CI/CD pipeline, and then we're going to bear with my GDK loading a little bit. And then there's a CI lint button on the top right. And if you click here, for now, this is living there. Obviously, it wouldn't live there. I've just removed the CI lint and put that there so I could play with it like in an existing page. But here, this isn't even the YAML that's in your project. For now, this is just a pre-default YAML that has DAG view. So even if your project doesn't have a DAG view, this will load up. So you can start playing with it right away. It was easier for a demo than loading your YAML file with an API call and then putting that in there. Also to note that for now, this is live editing, but the library that I've used for this parses the YAML either live or like in the browser or with a file. So technically you could also pass in the YAML file and then get the data like this graph out, right? It wouldn't be live editing, but you would also get the same functionality.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, there's a bit of weirdness, there's some limitations, but again, proof of concept. It's a demo. This is perfect for that. So, do you mind if I start sharing my screen and you talk me through how to get the demo running?
Yeah, for sure. Let me stop sharing mine.
Cool. Where are we? I'll have to share the whole desktop, I guess, so that. Okay, there's GitLab. Where is Firefox? I'll try doing it this way so we can see both. All right. Okay. So I've got the GDK running. I checked out the branch while you were talking there. So it's DAG preview experiment. This is the right one, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Actually, there's no code to do, is there? So let's get rid of code. Well, I'm assuming there's no code to do. I just need to check out the branch, right?
Exactly. And then you can go in any project, basically.
Any project.
Yeah.
I'll go in here. Why not? Did I click that? I can't see for the Zoom sharing thing. Oh, go away. Oh, it's loading. What's your trick for getting the GDK to run smoothly when Zoom's running? Because mine just doesn't like it.
I have no idea. I think it's like, for me, if I leave it hanging for like 5 minutes and I don't touch it, then it's slow. And then when I start again, it's fast. So I think that's why sometimes in Zoom it's slow.
Maybe that's it. Right. So now where am I going?
So you go in CI/CD and in pipelines.
Yes.
And then at the top right, you'll have the CI lint button at the very right.
It's under your face. With let me just move your face. CI lint.
And there we go.
Oh, well, that was okay. So it's just right here. straight away.
Yeah. For the demonstration, it was much simpler to just have like nothing to do except checking the branch. So you can start playing around with it.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so let me see. Test A is dependent on if I take build A out of test A. Oh wow, that's what happened there? Test B. I don't know if I actually changed anything there. Oh, yeah, no, I did. It just updated while I was looking at the text rather than the graph.
Yeah, and also the positioning for now, it's not ideal. You have the graph under. There are definitely things that could be changed there. This is all like it doesn't matter where they're placed. So it could be smaller, it could be bigger, it could be one next to each other.
And this literally is just the actual DAG, isn't it? So everything that's like all the locking and stuff just kind of work. This is amazing. I was expecting a much longer time to kind of get this demo running.
I actually I had planned a couple of days to do it, and then I mean, to be fair, we had Sarah and I worked on it like for the editor part, so just rendering it and making sure we understand how it worked, and then that took a little while, not that long, I think 1 or 2 hours, and then after that, I took an afternoon and I plugged it in. So it's very simple because, like I said earlier, the DAG is really self-contained. So as long as I could generate the data from the YAML to the graph, then it renders. And then it's just making sure that we think of how we handle the in-between state. So if you make a mistake, that kind of thing. For the demo, it's not important, obviously. But yeah, it went really fast.
Oh, this is great. I mean, like I said, there's obviously some rough edges, but like again, proof of concept. This is the whole point, right? This is amazing. If I'm going to stop sharing my screen, so there we go. Yeah, so like if we were to turn this into a full-on like proper feature, do you see any issues in creating it that would go beyond the proof of concept kind of thing? Like any corners that you've deliberately cut because it's a proof of concept that would be hard to do in a regular feature?
I think it's more, there are a couple of technical consideration. I don't want to go into too much details, but there is the introduction of a new library. That's one. So a library that parses YAML to JSON. If that's not an option, then we might be able to do something in-house. We have to see. Then the other thing would be how we handle the error state, like I said, but this isn't really a concern. It's just we have to do it. And then the other thing would be to just think of how we translate that data from the JSON to the DAG, because it might be interesting, because currently the DAG expect the format of the data to be the API insert. So there's a lot of, it's stages, and in the stages you have groups, and in groups you have all of that. But when you're parsing the YAML file and you get it to JSON, you're actually much closer than what we need to render it. But because we're expecting the API response, we're converting it back and then converting it again back into close to what we already had. That might be worth looking into. I don't think it would be blocking for making making it into the product. Would just be something to keep in mind as we're exploring. But there isn't any trick I can think of. Like if I look at how it's done right now, the only thing is nope, not even that. Nope. So because it's a component that renders both of existing components. So I don't think there are any shortcut that we need. So it's just like performance, making sure introducing a new library is fine. If not, then we have to parse it ourselves. And that's it. That's all I can think of.
So it's more polishing up the proof of concept than scrapping it and doing it properly, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, it's the only thing that would change is the file placement, where they're at, and we wouldn't, like right now everything is duplicated because I just copied the whole thing so that we wouldn't modify existing components and just play around and do whatever we want. But then that would be the same thing. We would just import the component, and if we need to add like a function there or something, we would. So that, yeah, it's nearly like I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be ready to be tried out.
That's cool. Okay, I'm sold. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Fred.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording now, and then we'll upload this to unfiltered and things, and get get people excited about it. Thank you
Good.
for doing this.
You're welcome. Like I'm super excited about this. So whatever I can do to help move that along is great.